I'm Jane Battersby from the African Food Security Urban Network and from the African Centre for Cities at UCT. And with regard to what are the challenges of urban food security and migration and urbanisation, well, we rolled out a survey in 1,060 households in Cape Town in 2008. We found about 80% of those households were struggling to access enough food on a day-to-day basis. So we've got these very high levels of food insecurity. When we looked into the data and looked at what the migration figures looked like, it was quite hard to differentiate because virtually all households we sampled were in fact migrant households. Everyone had a household moving from at least one member moving from a rural area to an urban area. So if everyone's a migrant, what does that mean? And so one of the things we were trying to understand is, well, what is the temporal dimension of this? And we know that when households first move to the city, they struggle to access housing, both formal and also some of the access of informal housing. And households that are in low housing conditions are often more food insecure than those informal housing conditions. People think about urban food security and urban agriculture as being the same thing, and the idea that people move from a rural area to an urban area and immediately start farming. Again, we didn't find that. You need to be able to establish yourself in the city before you can start doing those kinds of activities. Likewise, we found a lot of people depending on sort of informal social safety nets, borrowing food from neighbours, sharing food with neighbours, those kinds of things. But those things also don't happen immediately as you move to a city. It depends on social networks. And so the question is, what do people do when they immediately move to the city before they have those social networks, before they have the access to land, before they have the access to housing? And I think that is one of the crucial issues about migration and food security, that immediate contact, and how does one establish oneself in the city and be able to find food.